Chapter 13. The circle of men got very quiet. The younger guys looked like they wanted to laugh, but were afraid to, and Jimmy Guy came to the man who must be my father. Were looking at me the way grown ups do when they're getting ready to give some bad news, or they're just trying to decide which hand they're going to smack you upside the head with. Finally, Jimmy snapped his fingers. Hold on, Bud. Hold on. Now, is your name Bud? He knew my name. I said, Yes, sir. Jimmy said, Herman, don't you see? This has something to do with that crazy telegram you got this morning. He looked back at me. And you said you're from Flint, Bud? Yes, sir, that's right. That's right where I'm from, Herman E. Calloway said. What in Sam Hill's going on here? First off, you be coming in here accusing folks of being your father, and second off, where's your mother? Shucks. He said it like he didn't already know. I said, She's dead, sir. She died 4 years ago. Herman E. Calloway said, I'm truly sorry to hear that, but it's obvious that you are a disturbed young man and you don't have a clue who your father is. You just tell us who's looking after you now and we'll get you sent back wherever it is you belong. I belong with you now, sir, Herman E. Calloway said. Now you look here. Jimmy said, Hold on, Herman. He seemed a lot nicer than this Calloway guy. Bud, you gotta understand, Mr. Calloway here ain't your daddy. No how, no way, nuh-uh. I don't know what gave you that idea, but whatever it is, we gotta get you back home. Someone in Flint's gotta be sick about you. I said, No, sir. I don't have nobody in Flint left in Flint. That's why I came all the way here. He said, No one? No one at all? I said, No, sir. He said, No brothers? No, sir. No sisters? No, sir. What about an auntie? No, sir. No grandma? No, sir. Shucks. It looked like this guy was going to go over my whole family tree. Then he just whistled. So you're living in an orphanage. Uh-oh. I had to be careful how I answered this one. One wrong answer, and I could tell these guys were ready to give me up to the cops or give me a one-way ticket back to the home. I said, Well, sir, I've had some problems with the folks that were supposed to be looking after me, and after I hid their shotgun and poured water all over Todd Amos, I busted out of the shed and I had to go on the lam. And then I thought it was about time I came to meet my father because it's been. He raised his hand to stop me. That's fine, son. But just answer what I asked you. What orphanage were you in? Well, sir, I used to be in a home, and then I wasn't. And then I was with some people that were kind of mean. And then I tried to find Miss Hill, but she moved all the way to Chicago, and that was too far to walk. So he raised his hand up again to shut me up. Hold on, bud. Do me a favor. Go wait by that door for a minute. He pointed to the other side of the stage. I walked over and waited to see what he was going to do or what was going to happen. I tried pushing the door open a little bit to ease, in case I had to make a quick escape, but it was jammed tight. I'd have to leave out the same door I came in. The man named Jimmy and the guy who had to be my father started whispering. After a while, Herman E. Calloway raised his arm and said, Hey, don't forget that this is your little red wagon and you pull it if you want. Jimmy said, Fair enough. So he waved me back onto the stage. Bud, he said, You look like you might be a little hungry, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're done rehearsing, and we're about to head over to the Sweet Pea. You're invited to come along under one condition. What, sir? Once you got something in your belly, you've got to be straight with me. You've got some explaining to do. We'll feed you, but then you got to tell us the truth. Do we have a deal? He stuck out his hand for me to shake, but I wanted to know what I was getting myself into. What's the Sweet Pea, sir? Best restaurant in Grand Rapids. Is it a deal? I don't know how grown-ups can tell I'm always so doggone hungry, but I sure wasn't going to turn down getting my very first real restaurant food. So I grabbed his hand. I made sure I gave it a hard squeeze, like Mama told me, and said, Yes, sir, thank you, sir. He smiled, No problem. Herman E. Calloway said, Well, James, like I said, it's going to be doing some explaining to do. I don't need to listen to this scamp's nonsense whilst I'm trying to digest my supper. He stuck a pipe in that wasn't lit into his mouth and walked off the stage. Shucks. If my father had to be so doggone old, I was starting to wish that Lefty Lewis or Jimmy, this Jimmy guy, were him. Hermione Calloway seemed like he was going to be hard to get along with. The horn player said, "Little man, my name's Jimmy Weasley, and you can call me Mr. Jimmy." "Yes, sir." He pointed to the younger men. "The drummer there, that's Doug, the thug, Tennant, the sax man, Harrison, Eddie, Steady, Patrick." The saxophone player said, "Aw, man, it's not Eddie Steady, it's Steady Eddie Patrick, Steady Eddie Patrick." Mr. Jimmy said, "Uh-huh." And the trombone, we have Chug, Doo Bug, Cross, and on the palest member of our band on piano, Mr. Roy Dirty Deed Breed. He shook his head and said, "Lord knows why these young musicians can't just leave a perfectly good names that their mamas gave them alone, but for some reason they can't. Anyway, fellas, this here's Bud." "What was your last name, Bud?" "Caldwell, sir." "This here's Bud Caldwell. He's going to be our guest over a sweet pea for dinner. Y'all say hello and to the little man and make him feel comfortable." The thug said, "What's the word, Bud?" Dirty Deed said, "How you doing?" Doo Bug said, "Welcome, little stuff." Steady Eddie said, "Good to meet you, my man." I said, "Pleased to meet you." Mr. Jimmy told him, "All right, he'll ride over with you four. Me and Herm, we'll meet you there." The sax man, Steady Eddie, said, "All right, Mr. Jimmy, we'll finish up loading up." The Jimmy guy went out to the front door. The sax man told me, "Come on, little man. If Mr. Jimmy's going to spring for your supper, the least you can do is load up the car. Grab the case over there and put it in the trunk of the Buick. The Buick's out back." He pointed to the long, skinny black suitcase that had a leather handle on top of it and said, "And be careful with that. That's my bread and butter in there." I must have looked confused because he told me, "That's my horn, my axe, and my saxophone. The thing I make all my money with. So don't get butterfingers and drop it." I said, "Oh, yes, sir." The trombone man, Doo Bug, said, "One thing you're going to have to drop, though, is the yes, sir stuff. I only know two folks around here old enough to be calling them sir, and they are Jimmy and," he winked, "your dear long lost daddy, old daddy." The whole band busted out laughing. The thug guy said, "I'ma let you know a little secret, my man. I think the only reason Mr. C denying he's your dad is 'cause you went and hurt his feelings." "How? I didn't do nothing to him." "There it is. That's just what I mean. Here you are, you two are getting back together for the first time, and you didn't show the man no love." He looked over at Bug. "Bug, did you see any love being passed from this boy to his daddy?" Bug said, "You leave me out of your nonsense." The thug kept going. "Shoot, man. To me, like you should have been give the man his props. Seems like to me you should have given them a whole lot of more affection. You see, I know Mr. Seymour than most folks do. I know that beneath the cold-hearted, evil, wicked, nasty, mean," Doodlebug said, "Don't forget Cheap. Cheap's got to be in there somewhere." The thug said, "Oh, you know Cheap's right on the high list. But as I was saying, beneath all that festering of nastiness is a tender, kind human being. Why, I'd bet you dollars to donuts that he's outside right now in that Packard, sobbing openly about how you shunned him. When you get to the sweet pea, you need to rush up into him and give him a big hug and yell out, 'Daddy!' Then plant a big juicy kiss right on the top of his shiny bald head. Shoot. You do that, and you'll be in his will so quick your head will spin." I put the thug guy on my list of people not to pay any mind to. Hermione Calloway seemed like the kind of person that would rather get bit in the behind by a snaggletooth mule than have someone to give him a kiss. Steady Eddie said, "Let the little man Let's not get the little man killed before he has a chance to eat, Thug. Son, I hope you've got the sense to let what he's telling you to go in one ear and find the nearest exit. You just steer clear, Mr. C, for a while. He's not someone you want to toy with. And for God's sake, whatever you do, don't call him Daddy or Papa or anything that's going to give him any idea that you two are kin. You hear? These guys thought I was dumb." I said, "Yes, sir, but it isn't like my luck to come clean across the state to find my daddy, and he turns out to be a mean old coot. I slapped my hand over my mouth. I know better than think something like this out loud, and it just fell out of my mouth before I could swallow it down. This is Bud Caldwell's rules of things to have a funnier life and make a better liar out of yourself. Number 63. Rules and things number 63. Never, ever say something about someone, something bad, never ever say something bad about someone you don't know, especially when you're around a bunch of strangers. You never can tell who might be kin, that person, or who might let lip flippin' a big mouth spy. Sure enough, the drummer, the thug guy said, started acting like he was writing stuff down on a pretend piece of paper. He said, "Let's see, that mean old coot or old mean coot? Shoot, baby. If I drop some info like this on Mr. C, I might be able to stay in this band longer than the last three drummers did. You see, kid? You ain't the only one trying to get on Mr. C's good side. This is the best drumming gig in the state. I need to hang on to it as long as I can." I wasn't sure if the drummer was really as dirty dog or if he was just being a teaser. Whichever way, I'd have to work real hard remembering rule thing 68 or was it 63? Steady Eddie said, "Thug, you're going to have to lay off the kid's chops. The little man's got problems enough, and he sure don't need to have you meddling with him. Let's get the car loaded. Me and what's your name again, kid? Bud, not Buddy. Just Bud, not Buddy. Right. Me, Bud, and not Buddy are too dang hungry to hear any more of your lip. All the dusky devastators of the Depression and the Nubian Nights, Steady Eddie is my favorite." We loaded a bunch of funny shaped black suitcases into the trunk of the big old black Buick, then climbed in. I got in the back seat and sat between Dirty Deed and Steady Eddie with my suitcase on my lap. Doo Doo Bug got behind the steering wheel, and Thug got beside him. The thug said, "So, Bud Not Buddy, I'ma come right out and ask you so everybody else is mine. How'd you find out Mr. C was your daddy?" "My mother let me know." The thug said, I ain't trying to be funny. I'd never played dozens with no one. But let me ask you, was your mama, how can I put this? Was your mama old as sand when she had you?" Steady Eddie said, "Man, leave the kid alone. You got no call for prying into his life." I never mind talking about my mama, so I told Thug, "Yes, sir, she was pretty old when I was born." Thug said, "Shoot. I knew she had to be either old or crazy to have anything to do with that man. How old was she? 80? And was she blind?" I said, "No, sir. She was old, but her eyes didn't go yet bad yet. She was 20 when I was born, and she was 26 then when she died." The news like that always kills a conversation you're having with grown up folks. The dusky devastators got as quiet as mice with the bedroom slippers on. The only sound you could hear for a second was the keys clinging and clanging against the metal dashboard on the doo-doo bug. Turned the car into the front of the little house that said a sign that said "the sweet pea" on it. The thug said, "Things are hard all over, ain't they?" Steady Ed said, "You're right. You're all right, little man. You're a tough little nut. I like that. Most folks your age would have been bawling your eyes out if you got teased as hard as that fool drummer was teasing you. But you ain't even close to crying, are you?" I said, "No, sir." "I don't know why, but my eyes don't cry no more." Steady Eddie said, "I like that. My eyes don't cry no more. You mind if I borrow that? That sounds like a great name for a song." I said, "No, sir. Don't mind at all." He reached over and rubbed his hands over my head and said, "Yeah, you're all right, little fella. And don't worry too much about Thug. Mr. C changes drummers the way most folks change their drawers. What you see in the front seat is a man on borrowed time." Thug said, "Aw, man, what did you hear?" Doo Bug cut off the car and said, "All right, gentlemen, that's enough. Let's go get our stuff, go stuff our craws."